And welcome back in to another new episode of Tribal Council Chat. We are your hosts for this episode. My name is Bruce Heller. That is not Brett Parnell this week. He is on yet another cruise somewhere in the world. That is our friend Titi Fernandez. Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's very nice to meet everybody.
And so, real quick, because before we dive into Player of the Week in the actual Survivor episode, Brett mentioned last week that you had a fun announcement for the show of something you and him are working on.
Yeah, so Brett and I are going to be launching a challenge podcast coming up for season 40 that's currently still being filmed. So look out for that in the next coming months.
And I am super excited for that. That will be kind of under the same umbrella as Tribal Council Chat. And me and Brett are working on announcing what that umbrella looks like because there's a few parts to it we haven't announced yet. So be watching our pages for that. But welcome to the team. I'm excited for
Yeah,
your
I'm super
podcast.
excited.
And
I'm super excited to start podcasting and like just talk about the challenge because I feel like there is a lot of challenge podcasts out there, but I feel like you can always use more. So I'm
yeah,
excited
for
to do
sure.
that.
And I cannot wait to hear your all show and excited for it to be connected to this show. So,
Yeah.
diving into episode 11 of Survivor 46, what are your overall thoughts on this episode?
I like every week I keep thinking like the episode last week was way too crazy. Like this week it's going to be more normal, but I'm just really pleasantly surprised with how the season's going and like
Yeah.
every week it's always a crazy episode and I'm always like super excited to watch it. So I really enjoyed the episode and I've also just really been enjoying the season because I feel like we've gotten to see a lot of new characters and like new people, which I feel like the last few seasons, not every character, but we haven't seen that many like chaotic players or like outspoken players. So
Yeah.
I've just been really, really enjoying everybody in this season.
I have too. This episode was kind of sad because Venus was my preseason winner pick based on like the cast announcement that EW did with the little surveys and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've known since like the second or third episode she probably wasn't winning. So
Yeah.
I am kind of I left this episode confused though because for the entire episode basically, and we'll get into this, but the four losers of the challenge that didn't get to go on the pizza reward were set to take out Q because he
Mm-hmm.
was Maria's number one. I I was watching this with someone, and I'm normally watching the show alone. Maybe I was distracted. I missed when the vote switched from Q to Venus and how that happened.
Yeah, I think it happened because again, like Charlie, he's Maria's number one, but we saw him trying to maybe work without Maria and potentially like blindsiding her. But I think
Yeah,
that Charlie knew that Maria for sure has Q's vote and he or she for sure has Ben's vote. So if Charlie would have voted out Q, then it would have been a tie. So I think that it was
yeah.
just smarter for them to vote out Venus instead.
Yeah, and I do feel kind of vindicated because I said on this show last week and said to Brett that it was a great move by Maria taking Tiffany out, but I was afraid that it would be a war dog situation where it would just put an instant target on her, and that's
Y-
basically what happened. But
Yeah, I
it,
was because
Charlie
when
even
she
said, I don't want to be in a final three with Q or Maria. So he's going to be trying to make moves the next couple episodes.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening, but I think it's mostly dependent on whether Ben is willing to make moves against Maria or if he's like fully locked in with her because I don't see Q trying to get Maria out, but we don't know how tight
Yeah.
Ben is and how if he's willing to blindside
And
her or something.
that's why I feel like this might have been a missed opportunity by Charlie because there was the three people that were on the reward, but there was counting Charlie, there would have been four votes if they went for Q because Charlie, Venus, Liz, and then there was Kenzie. Kenzie was the fourth.
Yeah.
They would have had the votes to take Q out there.
Yeah, that
I
I
don't
for
know.
some reason forgot that there was four people at camp, but that also surprised me. But I think that if like I think Charlie was thinking, obviously I have to separate myself from Maria, but I can't do that now because she won immunity. But I think that the reason why he didn't pull the trigger on that is because, okay, they vote out Q, then Maria's going to come back to camp and she's going to be pissed off. And like, I guess he would still have the numbers with those people, but Maria's also tight with um, Liz and whatever. So I feel like he was scared of the consequences of
Yeah.
her. Like, I feel like when he does blindside her, he wants to do
Yeah.
it when she's going to be able to get voted out and not
Yeah.
like pull the trigger on it too early.
I'm not sure how tight Liz and Maria are after this episode and after that reward selection. But
Yeah, that was crazy.
and so let's kind of get into the episode. Who is your player of the week for this episode?
I think my player of the week has to be Maria. I feel like even though she's a big target or whatever, she has been playing the game strategically. And I feel like she's one of the only people in that island that isn't playing the game just based off their emotions or based off like who they don't like or who they do like. So I'm gonna have to give it to Maria.
Yeah, I wanted to go Charlie here, just but he ended up not pulling the trigger that I thought he was
Mm-hmm.
going to. So I'll go with Maria because she won immunity and her sort of new number one, or at least what everyone thinks is her new number one Q,
Yeah.
is still in the game. So that episode
Yeah.
could have gone a lot worse for her the way it started. I,
Yeah.
I still think the way she handled the reward was really weird, but we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode starts with right back from Tribal, and one of the first lines we hear is Kenzie saying, "If you guys had told me about that, I would have voted with you guys." Which, I mean, I feel for Kenzie because that's true. Kenzie was the one who originally wanted Tiffany out. So I feel for
But
her here, but
I think like because she had said a few episodes back that she wanted to vote out uh Tiff and blindside her and then
mhm.
just never did it. And I'm pretty sure I don't remember exactly who, but somebody came up to her. I don't know if it was like this episode or the episode prior to the last one or just the last episode, and basically said like, "Are you still down to blindside Tiff?" And she kind of like went back on it and just wasn't
Yeah, she
really
got
down for
cold
that.
feet.
So I think that Maria knew like because everybody knows that Tiff has an idol, and if Kenzie says like my number one ally and my like the only person I trust here is Tiffany, why would I blindside her? So if they would have told Kenzie about it, then Kenzie would have told Tiffany to play her idol.
Yeah, and I'm kind of interested to see because one of the questions we had last week was now that her number one ally is out, what is Kenzie's plan here? But Kenzie's a smart enough player that she had mentioned Tiffany's name already. I feel like she wouldn't have done that if she didn't have some sort of plan or battle strategy of who she wanted to work with afterwards or how that would work. So,
Yeah, I don't know if she is maybe closer with people that we just haven't seen, but like from what we have seen, she doesn't really have a number one. Like she even when she was talking to Venus, she was telling her or she was saying that like Venus is the only person that I trust now, and how ironic is that? So I feel like the reason that she did get cold feet about the Tiffany blindside is probably because she realized like I don't have anybody else to work with.
yeah, I would agree with that. The interesting thing is she doesn't really have a solid number one, but throughout the season, we've seen two or three people say they feel close enough to her that she's their number one. We've seen Ben say
Yeah.
that. We've seen Hunter say that. Tiffany. I mean, she's just. I'm still impressed at how good she is socially and just being likable and building relationships. I think if she makes it to the end, she has a good shot at winning still.
Yeah, just plainly based off the fact of how closely she like had these friendships and relationships with people. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah. And speaking of Kenzie, this was the beginning of a lot of this sentiment from Charlie this episode. Is he comes up to Kenzie and just comforts her, which is always a smart idea, but then just flat out sells Maria out and goes, "This wasn't my move, if you know what I mean." And basically says, "Yeah, Maria did this. That was all her," which I
See,
didn't expect to happen.
What really confused me about this, and I had something written down about it, but why is Charlie like talking so much crap about Maria to everybody and like acting like Maria is the kingpin, but then he's still willing to work with her for another vote. I feel like you like now that after Venus was voted out, Kenzie could easily go up to Maria the next episode and say, just so you know, Charlie has been talking behind your back, talking about how he wants to blindside you. So
Yeah, and I
I feel
think
like he should have done that when he knew for sure I'm blindsiding Maria tonight, because then that makes him a liability.
yeah, I think it's a couple things. It's like you said, had she not won immunity, she probably would have been gone. I think the only reason he still voted with her is he didn't want to deal with the repercussions of leaving her out of a vote.
Mm-hmm.
But also, and he mentioned this a little bit, I think it's a bit of that Jeremy Collins meat shield strategy of keeping someone around that I can play up as this big target and big threat so people aren't focused on voting for me.
Yeah, and I think if Charlie does make it to the final three, I think that his move is going to be more talking about like, I pretended like this was Maria's move, but in reality, it was my own move, and or like it was both of our moves, and we were working together. But I don't know how that's going to go with the jury, because a lot of times the jury, if you're claiming that something was your move and the jury disagrees with you, that's not a good look for you. They don't like that. So,
Yeah, for sure. And the soda vote would have been interesting if Liz or Venus had made the end because Tevin is convinced that that was his vote.
yeah.
But if Liz gets there, we'll see. But it's been a wild couple episodes for her. So,
Yeah.
and so the other thing is Venus, who is at least the edit shows has not really had a good read or awareness
Mhm.
of the game so far. I believe says this in a confessional that Maria just announced to the world that this is her move. And she even says to Kenzie that the Sega 3 need to be broken up, which it's a pretty good read. We haven't had a ton of good reads from Venus this episode. So good for her there. I mean, this season, but
Yeah,
good
I
for her there.
agree. I feel like she throughout the season just wasn't very self-aware like at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything that all her reads, all her predictions like just were completely off, and I feel like people were just kind of telling her what to do, and she was
Yeah.
claiming that as like I was on the right side of the votes, but like are you like you might be on the right side of the votes, but that doesn't mean that you are a strategic player.
Yeah. The person she kind of reminds me of to a lesser extent is Abby Maria from
Yeah.
Philippines and Cambodia, as far as not intending to be rude, but coming off that way because they're just very blunt, honest people.
I I mean, I could see that like comparison for sure, but I think that Venus knows that she's rude because people have like told her she's rude.
True.
And I feel like with Abby Maria, maybe was there a language barrier with her or something?
I don't remember. I don't feel like there was. I
But
know she was
that
crying at one
sometimes,
point at Tribal because Denise called her unlikable.
yeah, that was sometimes like when there is a language barrier, like maybe in her like culture, that's just the way that people speak to each other. But I feel like with Venus, it's very blatant that like she knows that she's rude to people. She knows people don't like her, and she hasn't done anything to try to come back from that.
Yeah, that's true. I really agree with that point. So, and this next scene is where things get crazy. It is early in the morning, sunrise, to the point where like it's morning time, but we still have the night vision camera mode.
Mm-hmm.
And someone points out, hey, Tiffany's idol went home with her. We should probably go look for it. Which
Mm-hmm.
I asked this last week. Is there not a merge tribe idol this season? Usually there's an idol for each tribe and then there's a new one for the merge tribe, but they haven't started looking for this until Tiffany went home with one.
Yeah, I'm not sure because since we haven't had any idols be played at all, I feel like they should probably figure out there is at least one idol and there could definitely be more than one out there.
Yeah, but and this one went home without anyone even knowing she had it. But
Yeah. Well, she kind of leaked it, or I think that was another reason why Charlie decided not to play with Venus and them, because she was insinuating that she had some sort of advantage, and then she was kind of trying to fall back on that and say like, "Oh, I shouldn't tell people." But Charlie knew that she for sure had something.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. Four people have gone home this season without idols. That's so many.
yeah, that's crazy.
Just with idols in their pockets that they didn't play. But Q gets up from the sunrise conversation to go start looking for an idol because he specifically wants to find it before Kenzie and Venus. And then
Hmm.
just one by one, everyone, we get this whole scene of person by person, everyone starts idol hunting. And in the middle of idol hunting for everyone, we cut back and one of this show's big fans, Liz Wilcox, just laying in the shelter sleeping
I
all
love
by
that
herself.
moment.
It's
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
crazy.
It's been quite a couple episodes for her. It's a roller coaster and it's great TV.
Yeah, I agree. It's great TV, but I feel like I could never be in a situation like that with a person like that.
Yeah,
Because I'm a very like blunt person. I'm not rude to people, but I feel like if when you're sleep deprived, you're hungry, you're tired, and then you hear all the like this girl screaming like that because somebody didn't want to pick her on a reward. I feel
yeah,
like that would rub me the wrong way.
yeah. I'm surprised it didn't rub any of them the wrong way. Probably
Yeah, I'm
because they were
surprised.
already ticked with Q for the fake quit thing. But
Yeah. But I'm surprised that Venus and Liz never went at it, or we haven't. Well, I guess she's out, but yeah, I'm surprised that never happened because I feel like Venus is the type to cause like arguments, and I feel
hmm
like Liz is very outspoken. So I'm surprised that they never had a confrontation that we saw at least.
yeah, she's definitely the type to get into arguments, as we saw at Tribal Council this episode with her and Q.
Yeah,
But
that was really entertaining.
she ultimately does find the idol, though. Venus does. So
Hmm.
good for her. And the next scene we see is Kenzie and Venus kind of talking and walking through the woods. And there's a bit of an alliance brewing here. And my thought at the time, obviously she goes home, but my thought
Hmm.
at the time was this could be a really interesting pair.
Yeah, I like what I wrote down when I was watching it is Venus and Kenzie weird, but I support it.
Yeah,
I I kind of enjoyed it because I really do like Kenzie as a player, and I mean, I don't think that Venus necessarily played the game the right way, and I feel like that's why she's gotten some hate, but I feel like a lot of people still do like her, and I do enjoy her character on the show. I feel like that type of personality is needed, just how like Q's personality is needed and Liz's personality. So I was
yeah,
supporting the alliance.
for sure, for sure. And also, we had a lot happen before the challenge because we haven't even got to the challenge yet. But this Charlie says Maria's getting all the credit from the TIFF vote made her a target, and I noted that down because I called that last week, and
Hmm.
I it was a great move from her. I think it might have been a little too soon. That
Yeah.
maybe
Another
make
thing
that closer to the end so people don't have as much time to try and target you. But
Another thing I wrote down was why is everybody like screaming that they are the ones who made this move? I feel like that's something that you do when you're on the jury and then or on the at the end and that's when you prove things. But the fact that like the TIFF vote, we see Kenzie being like, that was my idea, like trying to claim these moves when that just makes you a bigger target. And I feel like people
yeah,
just constantly argue about whose move was it? And like nobody ever knows because it just depends on the person that you ask. But that really confused me.
yeah, the same thing happened with the soda vote out where Venus and Kevin, and then the next episode, Liz, all want to act like it was their move and their idea. Which, at this point, after hearing all three points of view, I have no idea whose move that actually was if I only had to pick one. But I don't
I
know
would
why they're
say
all.
Tevin.
Yeah, I would guess Tevin, but I. Liz has. Sorry. I've been reading that there was a lot of Liz wanting to get out soda and not liking soda that
Hmm.
hasn't made it into the edit.
Okay.
Because someone made a comment at some point in an episode breaking down of, oh, Liz hates soda or something like that, that me and Brett were both like, where did that come from? We've seen none of that.
Yeah.
Because until the past few episodes, we've seen almost none of Liz at all. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Liz was kind of a background character for a while, and I feel like the only times that she is shown really like slightly with strategic things, but I feel like like her character is more about just how chaotic she is.
yeah. Or it's she's sitting there at the fire telling Maria all the reasons she doesn't like Q, and then
Mhm.
Q comes walking out from directly behind her.
Yeah, I
Yeah. So, my last couple notes before the challenge, and we kind of talked about this a little bit. Charlie wants Maria to have sole credit for the Tiffany vote so he can sell someone as the biggest target and put a target on her to hide his own
mhm.
game. And the note I wrote under that was Jeremy Collins would be proud because Jeremy won Cambodia
Yeah.
and is known for on across 3 of his seasons this meat shield strategy of wanting a bigger target around so it hides you. It was Joe for a lot of Cambodia. I think it was Tony for a while in
Yeah.
Women's at War, which didn't work out because Tony's Tony. But
Yeah. And I honestly enjoy that type of gameplay more. It's just more
yeah,
entertaining to watch. I like having these big characters, these big threats on longer, and I think that's how you allow like the mastermind to really get to the end and win like Tony did.
yeah. And I am interested to see what happens with Charlie and Maria because we saw either last episode or the episode before Kenzie basically said like paraphrasing here, but if you want to win, you have to take your number one out at some point.
Mhm.
And we just last season had the, in my opinion, the best player of the new era, one of the best winning game, top 10 winning game ever,
Oh, for
probably.
sure. For sure.
I could probably argue top five, win because she didn't vote her top allies out. The only
Mhm.
vote she ever cast for Julie was because she knew Julie was playing an idol.
Yeah.
The vote before that, Jam Jam didn't vote out Carson or Carolyn.
Yeah.
This cast seems bent on blindsiding their top allies at some point, though. Which that's
Yeah.
happened a lot. And if Fishback had done that at 18 and 18 to JT at some point, he probably would have won. But
Yeah, but you can also argue he wouldn't have gotten as far as he would have with
yeah,
J like without JT because I feel like at the end JT didn't he go on like an immunity streak where he
something
won?
like that. The
Yeah.
two of them were a pretty even pair. The way I see it,
Mhm.
JT did all the social work and was likable, and Fishback drove the strategy,
Yeah.
which I I still can't believe that was a unanimous vote. I thought that would have been a close vote because neither one of them
Yeah.
was there without the other one. But
I agree, yeah. But back to what you were saying, I think like people there's a difference between like blindsiding your ally and it being a move that's going to like put you farther in the game or just doing it to say that you did something, you know?
yeah,
Because let's say a few episodes ago, if Kenzie would have blindsided Tiffany, what does that do other than be like, oh, well, I voted my biggest ally out, but then you don't have any other allies to continue working with. So I think that there's a big difference between making a move that's going to push you farther in the game and making a move that's going to kind of tank your game.
yeah. And I think that's kind of, I was questioning Kenzie's cold feet last week, but I think she was kind of right. I don't think it was she had changed her mind about voting out, wanting to vote out Tiff. I
Mm-hmm.
think her cold feet when Maria approached her about it last week was it's not time yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen with Maria, it might have been too early to make a giant move like that because now Maria's either gone next or after that would be my guess, depending on
Yeah.
immunity. But all eyes are on her at this, and she went around claiming it also, which I don't get. Why are you putting an extra target on yourself? It's like you said earlier.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Maria is probably gonna be gone in the next couple episodes. But I also think like we thought Q was gonna be gone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like we thought definitely Q was gonna be the next person voted out, and he's still there. So I'm not gonna say anything because I feel like we'd never know with this cast. So
Yeah. speaking of Q, my last note before the challenge was a quote from Kenzie where she says, "If Maria or Q get to the end, either one of them can win." I kind of disagree. I don't know that Q can win because we're starting to get people on the jury like Tiffany that just are ticked off at him, A, for revealing her idol, and B, for fake quit, trying to quit, whatever you want to call that. So I'm not convinced he can't, but I'm not as convinced as Kenzie that Q can win either.
See, I feel like it's going to depend on whether or not this is going to be a bitter jury or not.
Yeah,
Because if they are truly there, like if Q's sitting there next to, let's say, like Liz and Kenzie, like if he's sitting there and like all the fans are going to say Q played the best game because if he makes it that far in the game, he definitely played the best game. And like the fake quitting thing, I could see that how that can be a problem, but also remember on 43, Gabler tried to be like the first vote. He was like, "Vote for me.
yeah,
I'm going to play my shot in the dark." And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, no, we don't want to vote you out." So I feel like if
yeah,
you have a little hiccup of the fake quitting or whatever, it's
yeah.
not going to ruin your winning chances.
I agree with that. I mentioned that just because of how ticked everyone seemed to be about it the next episode.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I said this to Brett. Like Q was really seemed like a strong player throughout the pre-merge and the first episode or two of the post-merge. And
Hmm.
from the trying to quit forward, he's kind of turned into coach somehow.
Yeah.
Because his confessionals are also like want to act like he knows more. Like, oh, you made a big mistake. That's a bad game move. And I don't know. He just reminds me of Coach the past few episodes, just a less irritating version.
Yeah, I love Q's character on this show. I think
Yeah.
it's super entertaining. I love how chaotic he is. I wrote down like a quote that he said when he said I ate 23 slices of pizza. Like I love how he's like not sitting there like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have been in that reward and I feel bad that Liz like didn't eat." He's sitting there like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have been here, but I'm glad I was."
Let me find it. I also wrote something down when he said that because he said that I ate 23 slices of pizza. Me out loud, verbally to the TV, said, "No way it was that many." Then they immediately showed a montage of him eating all the pizza. I'm like, okay, maybe it was.
Yeah.
But so we move into the challenge, and everyone jokes that they've made the final several because to
Yeah,
keep,
Jelinski.
keep the Jelinski joke going throughout the entire season, I guess.
Yeah,
Which,
now every time I hear someone say several, I like think of Jelinski. Like just
uh-huh.
in my day-to-day life, I'm like, seven? Like, no.
Kev,
So, I mean, for
yeah.
a first boot, he made a hell of an impact.
Yeah. Kevin Oliver, who's a friend of mine and has been on this show, bought a Jelinski t-shirt. So that's hilarious. I have
Yeah.
bought a Kenzie t-shirt that should be arriving at my house tomorrow,
Oh, that's
which
exciting.
I'm moving home from college tomorrow. So I'm excited to hopefully have that get there. Might have arrived today. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the t-shirt she sells that has a mermaid dragon drawing on it, which is hilarious looking. I'll send you a picture afterwards.
Yeah, you should.
But uh, the first note I have when he's explaining the puzzle, the challenge, I don't have a ton of notes from the challenge itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's another new puzzle. The way I described it is snaky blocky S, which it looks like a snake and an S, and blocky because there's these little things blocking your path all the way through. But this was interesting. We haven't seen this puzzle before.
Yeah, I feel like the challenge was really hard. Like anybody there could have won it. Like at the end they all had one ball in there, but I feel like I would not want to play that game. I feel like it looks so irritating when like you get so close and you drop the ball. So I said like what I wrote down, it was super intense and I feel like Venus did a good job. She almost did win,
Yeah.
but Maria, she's a challenge beast. I feel like she's just good at everything. So she
Yeah.
took down the win.
Maria's been really strong so far. I think she might have pulled a war dog and made a good move, but did it too early because you were antsy to make a big move, and
Hmm.
that might cost her.
Yeah,
But
I
she,
agree.
she does end up winning immunity,
Hmm.
and I she annoyed me in this part of the episode, but this was pretty much the only part because she chooses Ben, and then Probst does the Probst thing of choose another person,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of just picking a person like what almost always happens, she goes, Q, Liz, and Venus, make your cases to me, basically beg me to take you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Venus. I kind of like it where she says, I'm
I'm
not going
not
to
I'm
beg or
not
try
gonna
to
beg,
plead my
yeah.
case. Take one of those two. Just
Charlie also took himself out of that as well.
that's right. Which I mean, I respect it. Like I get the two that did keep arguing and still want to go, but this whole thing was kind of ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
Like
I was confused why, because everybody knew she wanted to take Q, right?
yeah,
She didn't want to take Venus. I don't know why, because like I feel like these people feel like they have to explain themselves on why they're picking who they're picking. Everybody knows, Maria, that you are working with Charlie, that you're working with Q and Ben. If you
yeah,
just sat there and said like Q took me on the reward, so I'm gonna pay back the favor.
yeah.
But the fake thing of like plead your case and then do rock paper scissors and like that was just really weird. I feel like it was just not needed.
I would have loved to have because she obviously wanted to take Q. If
Hmm.
Liz had won the rock paper scissors, would have been hilarious.
Yeah, but I feel like she
She still would have
wanted to
found a
put
way to
on
take
this.
Q.
I feel like she just wanted to put on this facade of I want to be nice, but then it's like if you
Yeah,
really cared about who has an 8, then you
yeah.
would have done Venus or Liz.
And I wasn't even thinking about the fact that Q had just been on the Applebee's reward, but
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
Maria just drugged this out for so long. I don't know if I wrote it as a note. Oh yeah, rock paper scissors question mark. Just pick someone already. Like why?
Yeah.
Just
It-
you're dragging this out for no reason. It's
yeah, I
so stupid.
agree.
Yeah, she annoyed me with that, but she ends up picking Ben and Q to go with her.
Hmm.
As we're going back to camp, Kenzie says it really well, just pretty blunt. If you want to take Q because he's your number one, just say that. Don't say
Hmm.
you want to take care of people that haven't eaten and then take the guy that was just on reward last time over the person that hasn't eaten in days.
Yeah, I feel like
And
she just explained the situation perfectly.
yeah, and then we get back to camp, and all four of the pizza losers
Hmm.
are basically kind of talking about, for lack of a better phrase, how BS the way Maria handled that was.
Yeah, I
And then
agree.
you already
Like,
have a target. You whether she knows she has a target on her or not, she should know. That's always what happens when someone makes a big move. They have suspicion
hmm.
on them. You're not doing yourself any favors with that little stunt.
Yeah, I agree. I think that she should have just, like we said, picked it, moved on, and then like people can be mad that they didn't get picked, but at least she didn't try to like put on this facade of I want to be
Yeah.
nice and help people.
Well, plead your case to me, beg me to take you, and then rock, paper, scissors, because I'm too nice to pick. Just pick someone. I don't care who it is. Why are you dragging it out so long, trying to be so noble about it?
Yeah,
Not actually your intention at all. No one here
exactly.
thinks it is. So while they're having this discussion, well, my next note after that was, is Charlie ready to turn on Maria? But we've talked about the fact that he very clearly is.
Hmm.
The pizza losers decide they want to take out Q and start hatching a plan. Because
Hmm.
if Maria isn't available, taking out her number one is the next best thing. And
Yeah.
I'm going to take out Q. And so they start talking about that. The pizza winners get back, and Liz is just, I don't know, venting or trying to pitch a vote to Maria or something. Maybe just
Hmm.
confronting her about the reward thing. But just completely putting Q on blast, only for Maria to say, "Hey, Liz," and like point over, and the camera zooms back, and we see Q's basically standing right behind her.
Yeah, and that's when she said like, um,
I'm
I don't
tired of
remember some. Yeah, I'm
trusting
tired of
myself.
this. Yeah, she said,
Yeah,
I'm tired of silencing myself. And then she went on to say she thinks that the reason why she has so many allergies is because she's been holding herself back, which I thought was really weird. I don't know if the jungle is
I
getting to her.
yeah. let me. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, she kind of blames bottling up emotions on why she has. I'm not a biologist or anything. I don't think that's how allergies work. I don't think they
It's
come
not,
from
no.
emotions. I don't. I have
No.
no idea what that is, but if you, yeah, just a really weird scene. And she does it
Agree.
again later. Talk because she said I forget who she's talking to. She says the only Maria because she was talking about asking why Maria doesn't talk to her, and Maria said you don't talk to me either. And
Mm-hmm.
Liz goes, well, the only person that comes and talks to me is Venus, and I don't believe a word Venus says. And
Yeah.
the camera zooms back, and Venus is like laying on the beach, maybe 5 feet behind them. Not as
Yeah.
close as Q was earlier, but like
Still, yeah.
really weird episode for her. Which I'm glad
Yeah.
we're finally getting content from her.
Mm-hmm.
She's not invisible like she was in the pre-merge, but wild couple of episodes. I'm excited to see where she goes. And she
Yeah, I'm
listens
not.
to this podcast, so I hope she does really well.
She listens to this podcast?
Yeah, she's
Oh, really?
commented on some of our stuff online. And when we were giving away stickers, asked for like 10 of them.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah. So for that reason, I want to see her do well because she listens to the
Mm-hmm.
show. But really weird couple of episodes.
Yeah, it was definitely strange, but I'm like a little bit confused on. So obviously she does not like Q and hates
Mm-hmm.
him, whatever. But I'm kind of confused on where she wants her game to go because she obviously hates Q, still hasn't voted him out. So I'm confused on like, why she's like openly talking about him and stuff when she is still not going to vote him out. So I'm kind of confused on. I
Well,
don't think that.
she still
I don't,
voted for him, I believe. It's just the
yeah,
rest of
well,
the
like
group changes the
recently,
target.
she when she voted out Tiff, when she voted out Venus
Oh,
this time. So I'm just a little bit. I'm interested to see on like where she wants her game to head.
yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I've seen a lot of people theorize about what a Liz Q Venus final three would have been like or who would have won. I think she would have had a good chance to win that, but now that Venus is gone, I don't know if there's a combination of two people that she can beat
Yeah,
both of them.
I I feel like that would have been her best shot, but I don't think like from where we are now, I don't think that she's going to be able to beat Q if he's there.
Yeah,
Just because Q, like, obviously was the mastermind at first, and then he kind of went down, but he was able to work his way up from the bottom and still like stay. And I feel like
yeah,
that's a like more of a claim instead of like because I feel like nobody's really voted for Liz or anything.
yeah.
Liz isn't really a target, like a strategic target or
I
something like
think
that.
with Q, the Tevin and Soda both joined the jury. Well, Soda did. Tevin joined it that same tribal.
Mm-hmm.
Pre Q turning into coach, where from the fake quit forward.
Mm-hmm.
If Tiffany is on the jury, you know she's not going to vote for him.
Yeah.
If Kenzie's on the jury, you know she's probably not either. So it's just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of how much sway those people would have. I feel like Ben probably doesn't. Ben's very unlikely to vote for him. Also, the way he's been talking the past couple episodes, he
But
called
see,
Q a villain about 5 times in a row last week for some reason.
I feel like seasons prior when we've had like a dominant person like Russell Hantz, and Natalie. I feel like now the new era of contestants, and this isn't always the case, but I feel like from the most part we've seen people reward like harsh villainous gameplay at the end, and that's what they want to see. So I don't know if maybe they're able to say like, yep, you fooled me, you outed me for my idol, and you've found a way to get to the end, and like you deserve this more. So I don't
Yeah,
know, we don't know how they're going to vote, or if they're just going to vote and be like, you ruined my game, you ruined everything, like nobody liked you, you were chaotic, I'm going to be voting for somebody else. So I feel like it could be really interesting to see who like how the jury is going to make their decision.
yeah, for sure. And my last kind of note here before tribal is Charlie saying that he doesn't want a final four, want to be in the final four that has Q or Maria in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's six people left. If he really wants to accomplish that, he's going to have to work quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I do agree with he said this though. The way everyone is talking about working, the way everyone is talking about them working with Maria and Q could sink my game because people this episode are not very happy with either of those. They're already kind of suspicious of Maria because she's a threat and really good at this after the last vote.
Mm-hmm.
Then she handled the reward the way she did, so people don't want her around. They haven't wanted Q around since the episode Tevin went home in. So I think he's right. I don't think he can win sticking next to these people unless you're banking on a jury being bitter with both of them, but I don't think that's likely.
No. Yeah, I agree. I feel like that was a very smart read for him, but it just kind of like disappointed me that after like after him recognizing that, he still didn't take the steps to vote out Q because like you said there's six people left now and he can either jump ship with Maria and Q and Ben and then vote out Kenzie and who else is left? Liz or whatever it is. Or he could have made a move and then like had a working relationship with Venus and Liz and Kenzie, but he didn't choose to do that. So to me, I feel like he wants to keep his options open and he doesn't really want to show his cards yet. But I feel like if Kenzie feels like she's the target, she's gonna go up to Maria and tell her
Yeah.
that Charlie's gunning for her. So
Yeah.
that's like kind of my prediction. I feel like he could go either way. He could stick with um Maria and them and then just hope that he can get either Maria or Q out before the final four or before the final three or whatever, or he could try to vote them out, but I feel like that's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Charlie's done a great job playing the middle this whole game, but
Hmm.
sooner like he's running out of time. He's gonna have to pick a side or he's gonna get lost in the shuffle and end up being voted out somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he needs to make a choice and it has to be again the right choice because if for some reason he makes a choice to try to vote out Maria again and she wins immunity again or Q wins immunity, like that can change the whole dynamic. Or if somebody finds an idol, like because they're still in play, that could change everything. So it's not like a simple, should I do this or this? Because you don't know how the votes are going to show up.
Yeah. And so moving into tribal, I don't have a ton of notes, but it was a pretty lively tribal.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with Probst bringing out licorice for some reason, which we saw the popcorn. He passed the popcorn bowl around for everyone to get a handful.
Mm-hmm.
This time he hands the whole group one piece of licorice to divide amongst seven people, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But Probst is bringing out personality at tribal with the seat cushion and snacks. So that's
Mm-hmm.
hysterical for some reason to me.
Yeah.
But the thing, Venus is someone that I don't disagree with a lot of the things she has said, but the way she goes about it, it would annoy me if I was there also. But
Mm-hmm.
she goes into that blunt mode pretty quickly on tribal, calling Maria out for how she handled the reward thing and saying
Mm-hmm.
that it was an act and a farce. And this kind of starts an argument that I forgot about until reading my notes because Maria pushed back on that, on the comments that it was an act and a farce. And Maria wasn't there to hear this, but she really has no leg to stand on. Everyone at camp was saying the same thing afterwards.
Yeah, I agree. And I was glad that Venus did call out Maria because it's just kind of what everybody was thinking and she hadn't like been told that. But I also think that Maria is somebody who takes things very personal. So like that like her saying something like that to Q would have been like whatever, but I feel like Maria is somebody that if you like try to say that she's some type of person that she doesn't think that she is, she takes that very deeply. So I feel like Maria isn't the right person to like get condescending with because she does get upset about those things.
Yeah. And it based on the preview, it looks like something's gonna happen that she gets pretty upset about next week. So
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I feel like that's why I feel like something's gonna get leaked to her of Charlie's been wanting to get you out or
yeah.
something, and that's gonna make her upset. But based on the preview, it's kind of I feel like it would be too obvious if Maria were to go home.
Yeah. I think next been saying this for 3 or 4 episodes now. It makes sense that next week would might finally be Q.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it could be Maria.
Oh, for
It's one
sure.
of those two. But and Q kind of gets, despite not having any shade thrown his way, this tribal gets into a bit of an argument with Venus over where he says people don't want to come and talk to Venus about strategy because she'll go leak it and you can't trust her. And
Yeah,
Venus
he
fires
said
back and says
never
that's
ever.
what, yeah, which he's not wrong entirely, but she's also not wrong when she fires back and goes, yeah, I was a part of 3 votes you got left out of.
Yeah, that's true.
So, wild argument there. That was entertaining.
Yeah, I enjoyed that argument. I thought it was pretty entertaining, and I
Yeah.
just enjoy seeing those two big personalities just clashing.
And so, wrapping up Tribal, the Venus goes home.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone except for Venus and Ben voted for her. Venus
Yep.
voted for Q, I believe. Ben threw a random vote at Kenzie.
So I was
No
really
idea why.
confused. No, listen, I was really confused about this at first, but then the more I thought about it, so we know that Venus told Charlie that she has some type of advantage. It could be an idol, and she was kind of being fishy with it. So I feel like Charlie, I'm pretty sure he did reveal it to Maria and then like Venus might have something. So I think that the group decided why don't you, Ben, just vote for Kenzie? So there would be a tie if Venus does play her idol, and then they would be able to do a revote on either Kenzie or Q.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really a really good thought. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, I was really confused, but then I like when I sat down to like think of it for a second, I was like, yeah, it was probably just to make sure that if an idol does get played, it's not somebody in that group that's getting voted out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, moving forward into power rankings, who do you feel like is in the number 1 spot? Who's in the best spot in the game so far?
I would have to say Charlie, just because he's able to keep working with Maria. He can start working with Liz and Kenzie or whatever. So I feel like he can really go both ways and he's the one that's going to be in control.
Yeah, I also have Charlie in the 1 spot for a lot of the reasons you said. He's done a great job playing the middle so far.
Mhm.
I think he's going to have to make a choice before playing the middle get catches up to him and he's
Mhm.
left without an alliance either way. But we'll see how he handles that. Who do you have
Mhm.
in the 2 spot?
This one was a little bit hard for me, but I would have to say Liz just because she she can work with Maria as she has and Maria and Q, but she can also like she also grew closer to like Kenzie after like the food challenge and Charlie. So I feel like she is also like a swing. She can go either way and I feel like she's not a threat to people where people are looking to vote her out.
Yeah, and this is going to be a bit weird. I have Kenzie in the 2 spot still.
Mhm.
She did get left out of the vote last week. She did receive a vote this week, but
Mhm.
she still seems to have such great relationships with everyone.
Mhm.
She got a vote, but you still haven't really seen a confessional that wasn't from Bonnie or Jess of people having any interest in voting Kenzie out.
Yeah.
I I still feel like she's gonna win. Is the prediction I'm riding with, and that's partially because I'm rooting for her to win at this point. But
Mhm.
I think she has a good shot to win. Just rough couple episodes, but she seems to be handling it well.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like she has really good social relationships, like we talked about, but I feel like she strategically hasn't done too much lately, and like she got left out of the big blind side of Tiff. So I feel like her strategic powers aren't very high right now, but I feel like it just depends on who she's sitting next to because if it's someone like Q and whoever else, people might say, I'm going to vote for Kenzie because she was really nice or she was an underdog. Like, I feel like there's
Yeah.
a lot of reasons that there's a lot of ways that she could potentially win.
The thing that comes to my mind with that is, what does the jury value more, strategy or social? We saw it with Samoa, where Russell drove a lot of the strategy, but Natalie White was really likable and had good relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with a season that you and Brett love and a winner that is your all's favorite with Michelle in
Yes.
32, where Aubrey, based on the edit, Aubrey did a lot of the strategy, but Michelle was better at building relationships with people and getting to know people and building bonds to the point where they wanted to vote for her. I
Yeah,
can see that with Kenzie. Kenzie seems to be on that level socially, where she's out here helping Ben get over a panic attack or
mm-hmm.
two or three different things like that we've seen from her this season. I think her social skills and likability and just friendliness could win her this game, even if she doesn't have that giant resume move.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember who like where I heard this, but I don't know if it was a podcast or something, but I heard that the jury never wants to vote for the person that they could have taken out at any time.
Yeah,
And I feel like that makes a lot of sense because if you think about it, like Gabler, he lost or he won and a lot that was very controversial, but like the jury saw Cassidy as somebody that we can take her out. Like I don't remember which vote it was, but it was if the first group of tribal council, if they voted out this person, then it was going to be Cassidy, or if they ended up voting out another person. So I feel like that also makes a lot of sense. Is like the jury a lot of times doesn't want to vote for the person that they felt like we can take this person out anytime, and that like before Venus got voted out, that could have been Venus. Like she could, even if she did a few things and she made it to the end, I feel like they wouldn't have voted for her because they're like, well, first of all, she rubbed people the wrong way, but also she was someone who was always a backup vote. Like, oh, if we can't do this, then let's just vote for Venus. So I
yeah,
don't know if people are going to see Kenzie as also that backup just because she did get the vote thrown at her just in case there was an idol played.
yeah,
But I feel like the next episode is going to be just really telling on like how this season is going to end.
yeah. And I've spent weeks saying Venus would be a zero vote finalist, so that was incorrect, but you're right. She absolutely could have made the end and just not gotten any votes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was going to be Katura last season because she was so tunnel vision on Bruce the whole time. But
Yeah, and also like basic like Katura and Austin basically handed D $1 million.
mm-hmm,
And I feel like it just depends on who is there at the end or whatever, but there's a lot of people and we've seen it before where they just haven't voted out their strongest threat and that person ends up winning. So I feel
yeah,
like to play that level of a game, you have to be around the right audience and I feel like or the right group. And I feel like this group is recognizing like a power player like Maria is a big threat.
yeah. And that's part of why I'm just so impressed by D. Part of why I love her is I predicted her to win before the season. But
Mhm.
by the time the merge hit, you had Katura, Austin, D, even Julie, all making decisions that were actively in D's interest, best
Mhm.
interest, but not in the best interest of their own game. And she literally
Yeah.
had people playing her game for her. Like just so dominant. It was impressive to watch last season.
Yeah, it was a really good winning game, and I also really like D, and I feel like she is a elite Survivor player.
And she's been great on Fire also. I don't know if you listened to that or not, but
I do not know, but
she's
I
been
might
great.
have to.
So who do you have in the third spot on power rankings?
Third spot, I feel like I would have to go with so I had Charlie, I had Liz,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna have to go with Q because I
Interesting.
because I would say Maria, but I feel like Maria now is the number one target to vote out. And I feel like Q is just like this cockroach that just cannot be killed. And I can see Q like skating by. And
Mhm.
if I feel like if Q gets to the end, I feel like Q wins.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe it depends on who he's next to,
That's true. Yeah.
but yeah, he has a shot. It. I don't know how to feel about his chances of winning. I think maybe. I also think the jury could just have no interest in wanting to vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
But my third spot is Ben, just from the perspective of he was never in danger this week, maybe last week also,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely for this episode, his name was never even brought up.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah, I
think,
don't know. I feel like we don't know with Ben on whether or not he's willing to like turn on Maria. So I feel
yeah,
like next week we're definitely going to see where he stands with that.
yeah. My fourth spot is Liz. Just I don't know how to feel about her game at this point. I don't know what her game is exactly. The show hasn't done a great job of portraying her game
Hmm.
rather than just kind of the kooky, crazy moments.
Yeah, I agree. I would probably have Ben as my fourth one just for basically the same reasons that you stated.
Yeah. Fifth, I have Q. He still seems to be not very well liked at all. But
Hmm.
at this point, I just feel like he's not going anywhere. I feel like it's close enough to the end. People might use him for like a goat strategy of drag this person to the end that I know I can beat.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, unless he gets there with like if he would get there with like Liz and um Kenzie, I could see him winning
yeah,
over them. But I don't know. I feel like we just don't know how the jury thinks, like we mentioned, until we get
yeah.
there.
And then last place in the sixth spot, I have Maria. She
Mhm.
was first on my both of me and Brett's rankings last week, but
Mhm.
she became a giant threat for that her move taking Tiffany out, and she
Mhm.
became an even bigger target for the dumb way she handled the reward. So she's in
Yeah,
trouble.
I agree. I think having Marie at the bottom is definitely accurate.
And so moving into a line blindside first boot, do you want me to give three names first, or do you want to give the three names you have?
Um, I don't care. You can go or I can go. It's up to you.
You go ahead and go first. You're the guest.
Okay, so for my align, and this is like imagining like what I would do, right? If I
Yeah.
was like, okay.
Yeah.
So for
So
my
we'll both
align,
answer both prompts.
okay, for my line, I picked Maria. I did people that were on this cast, like from this season only, because I feel like she is very smart. And I think that Charlie did a good job, like beginning of the season, kind of like choosing her as like his strategic partner. So I would definitely align with Maria. If I saw her there, I feel like she's a mother figure. She would kind of keep me sane, and she's a good shield at the end. Um, for my blind side, I had Liz just because I want to see her reaction to getting blindsided. That is the only reason I had her on there. And then for my first boot, I had Jess because, like, out of this cast, I was thinking it's either Jess or Banu because like with Jess, and I feel like I heard this on some of her exit interviews, she was like miserable the whole time she was there. She was kind of like happy, like she got out of the island. And I feel like Banu, obviously he was super chaotic, but I feel like he actually wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jess just was somebody that was miserable, wasn't making an effort to be strategic or build bonds, and she was just kind of like waiting for herself to be voted out. So I feel like out of everybody, the people that should be the first boot is somebody who doesn't want to be there over somebody who does.
Yeah. And my answer is I'll first boot Jess for the reasons you just said, but also just size wise and the fact that she wasn't getting sleep, she's not going to help my tribe stay away from tribal and the challenges.
Yeah, she was
So
horrible at the challenges too.
I will flip it though. I'll blindside Maria
Mm-hmm.
and align with Liz because I think I have a better shot of winning sitting next to Liz at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I would align Maria, but like cut her at the end type of
Yeah.
thing. Like as the like a meat shield, a loyal meat shield, if you call it.
Yeah. That's interesting. So the three names I have for you
Mm-hmm.
are, I'm thinking, okay. So I'll go with co-wrong. I will go with Scott Pollard,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Jason, and I forget her last name, but Debbie.
Okay, I don't remember who Kyle was, but I do remember Scott
They
and
called him
Debbie.
Jason. He was allied with Scott.
Oh, was it the other big guy?
Yeah, with the beard.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I would do Blindside, Scott, because he really rubbed me the wrong way.
Same.
I would actually no, I would first boot what's his name again?
Jason.
Or Jason and
Scott.
Scott. No, sorry. Okay. I will first boot Scott because he rubs me the wrong way. I don't care if he's good at the challenges or whatever, but I just really did not like him.
Same.
And I would blindside Jason because I feel like he'd be a good one to blindside. You can keep him around for a little bit once he's done serving his purpose.
Yeah.
Like challenge wise, then we can get rid of him. And then I would align with Debbie just because she is kind of chaotic, but I honestly love to see it. And she was pretty good at the challenges, so I would want to keep somebody like that around.
Yeah. Aligning with Debbie makes sense compared to the other two.
Yeah, for sure.
She also just can be really irritating, it seems, and I don't know if I could deal with that all the time for 39 days.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if she's like irritating,
Yeah.
then maybe if it's between you and her, then they're gonna
Yeah.
want to pick her because she was irritating everybody. So,
I think what I'll do is I'll first boot Scott, and for my evidence, just hiding the flint and machete, and then when they do get a fire going, dousing it
hmm
anyway.
yeah, I did not like him.
Blindside Debbie just because she's annoying, but I also want to see her reaction to that,
hmm
which leaves me aligning with Jason as the only option left, but I don't feel great about that either.
Yeah, I feel like these names were kind of hard.
Yeah, I kind of thought of it on the spot. Normally, I come up with it after the episode when I'm making my notes, and I just forgot last night. But
It's okay.
this was a really fun episode. We'll have to have you back on sometime.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me on and look forward to the new podcast coming out soon.
I do you guys have a name for that yet? If not, that's fine. I'm just curious.
No.
Okay, I
Unless
can't.
Brett does, I don't.
Okay. I can't wait to hear the show, and that is launching when 40 launches,
Yeah, when 40 ends up airing, so probably in a couple months.
or when they drop the cast, or when the show starts, something along those lines.
Yeah, something along like
I
that.
can't wait to hear it. Welcome to the team and audience. This isn't the only announcement. We'll have another one coming soon, maybe two more. You'll see. But grab your torches and head back to camp. Bye, guys.